Welcome back to CIS 105. Today we're going to work on Excel Module 1, which can be found on EX1 of your textbook. This module will focus on creating a worksheet and a chart. If we flip to EX2, we'll see a copy of our completed workbook. It's going to have Figure 1-1, which is a personal budget worksheet, and Figure 1-1B, which is a pie chart. If we flip over to EX4, we'll see the outline of how we're going to select and enter text, and then we'll begin on EX5 where we'll actually open up our workbook. So once you open Excel, you're going to use the option for Create a Blank Workbook. When we create our blank workbook, we'll want to make sure that Excel is maximized and that cell A1, which is generally is always selected, is selected. Flip over to EX6. In cell A1, we're going to type the text Personal Budget Worksheet. And don't worry that your text is going to overflow the cell. We'll work on that in a little bit. Okay, Personal Budget Worksheet. We're going to use a couple of different buttons in Excel. The book is telling you to use the Enter button. They're referring to the checkbox that's near the formula bar. You can also use the Enter key in a lot of different situations. The Enter button will enter the text, but will keep the active cell selected. So A1, if I hit the checkbox, will keep A1 selected. If I go back into the cell here, I'll have to click into it a little bit, see if I get into here, and I click Enter on the keyboard, it's going to complete the exact same thing, but it's going to advance our cell to the next row below, so A2 in this point. So direction number 3 on EX6 told us to the Enter button, which meant that checkbox. Again, we really didn't need to worry about that there because an Enter key on the keyboard would have done the exact same thing. In cell A2, we're going to type monthly estimates. Monthly estimates in cell A2. Okay, because we're going down one row again, we can hit the Enter key on the keyboard. Again, it does the same thing as the Enter button in the situation. In cell A3, we're going to type the word income. And then we'll flip on over to EX8. Now, we do not want to go down a row. Instead, we're going to work with our columns. So we'll start by going to the B column. So if we were to hit the Enter button in the situation, that would complete this, but we wouldn't advance to B. If we used a right arrow key, we'll actually complete our statement and then we'll move to the right cell. So we'll use that. The other option here should be if we press the Tab key, it'll do the exact same thing on the keyboard as the right arrow key. Okay. So let's go to EX8, and it's going to ask us to type the word January. Okay, so if we type the word January, it's going to ask us in cell C3, we'll press the Tab key, to type February. Now, I really don't want to type all the months of the year out here. So let's go ahead and use one of Excel's built-in features here. Alright, so if we take our mouse pointer and we want to get a white plus sign here, that's the thick white plus sign, and we use our left mouse button to click January and drag over to February, we'll select both of our cells together. If we take our mouse pointer and move it to the lower right hand corner of the cell, we'll see that our mouse pointer will turn to a black plus sign. It's a thinner plus sign. If I click with the left mouse button and drag over to D, we're going to see that it can start populating March, April, May, June, all the way over till December. And if we let go, we populated all the months of the year. And that's Excel's fill series function. We're going to learn that later on in other chapters, but we might as well use it now since it's a very beneficial feature. So after we finish that, we can use the right arrow key. We can use the tab key to move ourselves over, or we could just click. We're going to type the word total. All right. Now, after total, which is in cell N3, and you could tell we're in cell N3 because we're here, N is third row down, or the name box here will say the name of the cell, which is N3. We're going to move all the way over to cell A8, and we're going to type the word expenses. Expenses. Okay, so if we press the tab key, we're going to go ahead and type the months of the year again. So we can do a couple of different things here, and I think the easiest thing, because we also have to type the word total, we can use the white plus sign to select all this text, and we can use the copy button, which is going to put the outline of here, we call it the marching or dancing ants. We'll click on cell B8 right now, and I could just use the paste button. And look, we just copied our contents from this range all the way down to this range here. To get rid of the marching ants or dancing ants, we'll go ahead and just hit the escape key on the keyboard, and we'll see that that's going to go away. We no longer have that selected. Those are some nice shortcuts for us, so we do not have to keep typing all this extra text. And I promise you, as you go through Chapter 1, I'll come up with a lot more shortcuts for you that'll make your typing a lot faster. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to click on cell A4, which is right under the word income, and we're going to type wages. Okay. After that, we're going to type the word dividends in cell A5. So since I'm going to go to A5, I can hit the Enter key, and I'll type dividends. I'll go ahead and hit the Enter key, and I'll be in cell A6. And this time I'll type total. Okay. I can use the down arrows if I like. I need to navigate all the way down to cell A9, right under the word expenses. And I'm going to type the other column names that we'll find, or row names rather, that we'll find in figure 1-13 on EX9. And this is going to be in cell A9. We're going to type rent. I'll hit the Enter on the keyboard. We'll type food. Enter. Tuition. Enter. Books. Enter. Entertainment. Enter. Car payment. Enter. Gas. Enter. Miscellaneous. Enter. And then total. And then we're going to skip cell A18 and go all the way to A19, where we'll type net. All right, so that should take care of all of our row headings. If we flip on over to EX10, we'll see that there's a giant chart of all the information that we're going to type. Now, the book is suggesting that you work from left to right, populating all the information from left to right. We can go ahead and do that, all right, but instead of us typing it all manually, we're going to use as many shortcuts as possible so that the data entry of this goes by a lot faster. Okay, so let's click on cell B4. That's the wages for January. And my wages for January, according to the chart, which again is found table 1-1 on EX10, it's going to be 1417.12. And watch as you're typing all of the decimal places in Excel, you'll see some of the different ways that Excel will handle decimal places. Now if we look at our wages are the exact same amount every single month of the entire year. So instead of typing that 12 times, we could simply use the black fill handle here to click and drag, and it will copy that exact same number throughout every month of the year. And that's the black plus sign. Now it looks like this. Okay, so we did that. So then our dividends, which is cell B5, will be 4029.71. Okay, if I press the Tab key, we'll notice that my dividends for February all the way through June are 0. So we'll just type a 0. And because it's a lot easier to just copy, we'll just use the black plus sign to copy that all the way over. I'll type the dividends for July, because that's only 1, which is going to be 4029.71. And then August through December, we'll type a 0, and we'll just copy that over. And now we populate that. Now, we don't want to put a total in at this point. And there's many reasons for that, and one of which is in Excel, you never, ever, ever type a total. You always calculate the total using a formula. I know that sounds scary, but it's nothing really to worry about. We'll go ahead and use the built-in formula functions in Excel right now. All right. Before we do that, let's go ahead and populate cell B9, which is the rent for January. Just like the wages, the rent is the exact same amount every day of every month of the year. So that's $410 every single month of the year. So then let's do the same thing. Let's take the black plus sign in the lower right hand corner and copy that all the way out through December. And we populated all of that. If we look at our food is going to be $280. So if I take that, I can populate that all the way out with the black plus sign. We go to tuition. Our tuition is going to be $1,500. Hit the tab or the right arrow key. It's going to be 0 the next 3 months. In May, our tuition is $300. It's then going to be 0 for June and July. But for August, it's going to be $1,500 again. And then it'll be 0 the rest of the months of the year, so September through December. So we'll use the black plus line to fill that in. Our textbooks mimic the same type of pattern that our tuition did. So our textbooks are $500 for January, 0 for February, March, and April. May, it's only $100. June and July are 0. August is $500. So just type 500. And then September through December are 0 as well. Now notice, when I'm in the entertainment column right now, if you see entertainment actually exists in cell A13. But when I click on cell B13, the NMENT, or MENT rather, looks like it's in cell B13, but it's not really. As soon as I start typing the entertainment, which is 100, it's going to copy over the rest of the word entertainment. And I noticed I just spelled entertainment wrong, so I'm going to fix that. Alright, so we fixed that. Alright, so entertainment is $100, and again, it copies over here. So that basically it's behind that cell. All right. Now before we go ahead and copy 100 all the way across, if we look at the chart, we'll see that our car payment, our gas, and our miscellaneous are the same expense every month of the year as well. So if we go ahead and type our car payment right now, which is 215.47, and we type our gas, which is 100, along with the miscellaneous of 100, instead of copying these over individually all the way to the right, I can use the white plus sign to select 1, 2, 3, 4 cells down, and then use that same black plus sign to drag all the way across. And now I populated all of my data with just a simple click and drag instead of manually typing it 12 times. So that's going to go ahead and simplify the data entry an awful lot. So it simplified it so much so that I skipped the rest of page EX10 and all of EX11. Now, I told you that you never type any kind of total in Excel no matter what. So let's go ahead and use the built-in formulas that Excel provides to calculate totals for us. One of them is a sum function. Well, that's nothing more than just adding things together. So let's use cell B6, which is the total for January. There's a button here called AutoSum, and it exists on the Home tab under the Editing category. So if I click AutoSum, what it's going to do is it's going to add the range or sum the range, and you see it's going to say equals sum parenthesis B4 colon B5 close parenthesis. So that means add everything between these two parentheses here. All right. So if I hit that enter checkbox right now, and we're using the checkbox instead of the enter key because I don't want my next cell B7 to become selected. If I just hit the checkbox, it completes the formula for us. And the good news is that that formula is going to match for us. Now, just like Excel has the ability to copy numbers over, Excel has the ability to copy formulas over as well. So if I use the black plus sign on the corner of B6 and drag it all the way over to December, I just copied those formulas all the way across. And to prove that, we can click, just for the sake of it, June, which is G6, and click G6, and we'll see that we are equal to the sum of G4, G5. And that would have been the exact same thing as clicking G6 and clicking the AutoSum button. So we just clicked and dragged and filled the formulas all the way across. Now we didn't do the total for the monthly income. All right. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and let's actually use the white plus sign to select N4, N5, and N6. Now if we use the AutoSum button here, what that's going to do, instead of it summing everything above, it's going to add everything from the left to the right. So to show you that, I'll click the AutoSum button now, and it says sum B4, M4. So it's left to right. Same exact pattern as up and down. All right, but I'm not going to go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to use the white plus sign to select all three, and then in one step, I'll just click the AutoSum button, and it will go ahead and sum all three rows right across. Again, if I click it, it shows me the individual formula. So that's a huge time saver. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll calculate the total for January through December for expenses. So we'll just click, we'll use the white plus sign, I'll drag it all the way across to December, and I'll click AutoSum, and that populates everything for me. And I'll do the same thing for the total under N9 all the way to N17. I'll click AutoSum again, and it'll do all of that math for me. Now, the really cool thing about Excel is one of the very cool things that if you make a mathematical error or a typing error, since we're doing formulas, we'll know exactly where our error is going to be based on where our numbers don't match up. So if I look at my total for N6, so that's this total right here, and I flip all the way over to EX17, I'll see all the directions that we just covered, but we'll see that the total there says $25,064.86. That's directly what's in the textbook, and that's what my formula came up with here. So that means I did not make any typing errors any place in any of this data. If my total was off here, then I would have a corresponding incorrect total in here and a corresponding incorrect total here, which would then mean that I could look for the incorrect total in this column and the incorrect total in this row, and that would pinpoint exactly where my typing error might have been. All right, so that makes things easier for us. Same thing with here. Incorrect total would have an incorrect total here. Now, because my total of 18,865.64 is accurate, I know that I did not make any typing errors in any of these cells, just by these 1 and 2 totals. Simple as that. All right, so we're going to flip on over to EX18. On EX18, we're going to manually type a cell. So we're going to click on B19, which is the net, and we're going to type a cell. All formulas in Excel start with an equal sign. If I forgot to type an equal sign, all I'm doing is typing text. All right, so if I forgot this equal sign and I just backspaced it out and I just typed B6 minus B17 and I hit that checkbox, it's just text, right? Because we didn't put an equal sign in front of it. But as soon as I come up to my formula bar or double click down in the cell and put an equal sign in front of it, look at, now it thinks that I'm using a formula and it's referencing, this is called a rangefinder, referencing cell B17 and B6. So we'll see that that's the formula that I want to type is equal to B6 minus B17. If I hit the check right now, I copied my my totals from here to here and just subtract everything down, and my total is going to work out to be $2,241.36. We know that's the same total that is in figure 1-28 on page EX18, so that's accurate. So what that means is I can use my copy to copy all the way across, all the way to N19, and I populate all of my data. Let's save our worksheet, our workbook rather. We'll say File, we'll say Save As, we'll save our workbook to our data files or our classwork folder, which mine happens to be in my Documents folder, Classwork, and our workbook is going to be called Linda Fox Budget. Linda Fox Budget. And that is direction 3 on EX19. So we'll click Save. Alright, so we've done all of our typing here, so we really don't have too much typing to do. Now we're just going to format our workbook. So we'll flip on over to EX20, where we have our boring, unformatted worksheet, and that's EX20, that's the first one. And then we'll see what the formatting worksheet is going to look like. That would be figure 1-29 on EX20. So the first thing we'll do is we'll select cell A1. Because cell A1 is selected, we'll know that because we have a green border around my cell. We're going to go to the cell styles, which is this right here, cell styles. Cell styles, we're going to choose the cell style that is a on EX22 a title style. So we'll click the drop down for the More Styles button here, and we'll find the one called Title. Now once again, our text got bigger, it changed to a different font, and it overflows A into B, into C, into D, and all the way into E right now. But again, if I was to click on B, I wouldn't see the text in it because that text only exists in cell A1. Alright, so we did that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select cell A2. This is the monthly estimates. We're going to go to our font category here, and we're going to change our font from Calibri to Calibri Light. And this happens to be a theme font that's pre-selected for me. Okay, we're going to go to EX24 right now. We're going to select cell A1 again. That's the personal budget worksheet. And we're going to bold cell A1. We're also going to bold cell A2. So instead of doing this direction twice, I'll use my white plus sign again to select both cell A1 and A2. And I'll click the bold button. And that bolds both cells at one point. That makes things a lot faster for us. Okay, let's go ahead and select just cell A2. So we'll just click on A2. That's the monthly expenses. Let's change our font for the monthly expenses from 11 point all the way to 14 point. Let's change the font of cell A1. We'll click on cell A1. My font right now is looks like a bluish tinted color here. We're going to change my font to a different color, so we'll hit the font color button. And the font color we're going to be looking for is Orange Accent 2. We know it's a theme color because it has an accent, and we know it doesn't have a % after it, so it must be the top theme color. So we selected that one, Orange Accent 2. We're going to click on cell A2, and we'll do the same thing. Because we chose that Orange Accent 2 for A1, it's our last used font. We can click the font color, and that's going to populate that with Orange Accent 2. Let's go ahead now and let's select cell A1. Now I mentioned the text in A1 appears in A1 but overflows all the way over to E. If we use the white plus sign to click and drag and select all of the cells between A1 and 1, so that's the range A1 and 1, and use the Merge and Center button, which can be found on the Alignment category on the Home tab, we'll see that my text becomes one giant cell that spans A1 and 1. What that means is I can no longer click M1 and have it appear in the name box. All I'll see is A1. Now one thing to note, when you're using the Merge and Center function, it is going to overwrite any text you have in any of the cells that appear to the right or down if you use a Merge and Center. So to illustrate that point, I'm going to type something in maybe cell F2, just a 2. If I choose to select the white plus sign all the way over to cell N2 and use the Merge and Center, it should warn me that I have some text in a different cell and it's going to overwrite it, and if I'm sure I want to do that. So remember, F2, I put something in. If I click OK, it's going to wipe out what was in cell F2 to go ahead and make it one great big giant cell. So you want to be careful with your data entry to make sure you're not accidentally typing in the wrong cell, or you want to make sure you're not accidentally merging over data that you already had. The good news is the undo button will fix that for the most part, and then we'll just use the redo button to show you that this is what it looks like again. So I can flip all the way over to EX28 right now. On EX28, we're going to select cell A3. This is the income. And we're going to click with the white plus sign all the way over to cell N3. So that's all of my headings here. They're my column headings. And I'm going to apply the heading 1 cell style. So I'll click the drop down arrow for more, and I'll find heading 1. And that's going to format all the months of the year as a heading 1. I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the range that is the expenses. That'll be A8 to N8. I'll click heading 1 again. And that populates that as my cell style. Let's format the range A6, N6. So instead of selecting the totals A6, N6 and formatting things as a total one at a time, we're going to select a non-adjacent range. So if I use my white plus sign to select A6, N6, and I hold down the Control key and select cell A17, N17, we'll see that I have both of them selected. They're both in gray. I can let go of the Control key at this point. So then I can click the total cell style, and that'll format both rows at one time as a total. Direction number 4 on page EX29 also shows us selecting the range A19, N19. That's the net, A19, N19. And it likes us to format this as accent 2. So we'll click the More button and find accent 2. So we'll look for that one in the list. That's the solid orange color here, accent 2. And that converted the text from black text on a white border to orange text, or orange background with white text. Let's format our other ranges here. So the first range we're going to be selecting is A4, N4, which is the totals range. I'm also going to need to select A9, N9. So again, if I hold down the Control key, I can select the rent, A9, N9. With the Control key still held down, I could select A11, N11. And then I could select A13, N13, still holding down Control. A15, N15. Control keys can be let go at this point. I'm going to format those as accent 2, 20%. So I'll click the More button. 20% accent 2 rather. That takes care of that formatting. Now let's select the opposite rows. So let's select the dividends, which is A5, N5. We'll hold down the Control key again. We'll select the food, A10, N10. Control key still held down. We'll select books. That's A12, N12. Control key still held down. A14, N14. That was the car payment. And finally, Control key still held down. A16, N16. We can let go of Control at this point. And this time we'll format this as accent, the 40% accent 2. So now our document's looking a lot closer to what our completed charts, or completed table is going to look like. I could just click off of the selected cells, click someplace over here to deselect my cells. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to format our worksheets, numbers, and then we'll work on our column widths. So let's select our dividends column. So this is going to be B4, N4, or dividends row rather. Excuse me, B4, N4. That's the wages. B4, N4. Let's format this as the accounting number style here. So if we go to number and we see the accounting, and accountants deal a lot with money, so let's look at the money symbol. If we click the money symbol, that's going to format them as accounting style. That's going to automatically resize our worksheet. It's going to put a dollar sign, and it's going to put it 2 decimal places by default. We'll select the range, B5, N5. And this one will apply the comma style. We click on comma, watch the zeros. The zeros will disappear and become dashes. And we'll apply 2-digit decimal places with a comma in the thousands place. And then let's select the range B6, N6. And then we'll apply the accounting number style again. It's not common practice to select the words in here, that should stay the general. So that way it doesn't mess with our indenting here. But it's really not going to make a, a proper, document looking correct that bad if you accidentally selected wages or dividends or total as well. But you'll see that they have the general style. Okay, so our dollar signs are here. Okay, so let's format more. So let's format the rent, which is B9, N9. We'll hold down the control key. We'll format the totals, which is B17, N17. And then we'll format the net, which is B5, N5. And this is also going to be formatted the accounting style. So we'll click the dollar sign. Then we'll select B10 all the way down to N16. So we're going to select all of this with the white plus sign. And this one will apply the comma style. Again, the zeros will disappear and become dashes. Okay, so that's most of our formatting for our numbers here. Let's click the Save button so we don't lose our work. On EX31, we're going to adjust our column widths. So if we deselect, so we'll just click any place else. So we deselect all of our selected data here. And we move our mouse pointer between the A and the B column headings. We'll see that our mouse pointer turns to a double-headed arrow. And we could do one of two things here. We can drag left or right to increase or decrease our column width, like that. Or I can use the auto fit or best fit option. So when I get the double-headed arrow, if I double click, Excel is going to automatically adjust my column to the widest entry. In this case, it's going to be the toss-up between entertainment and miscellaneous. It automatically adjusts that for us. So instead of doing this one at a time, like Direction 3 suggests on EX32, let's use a shortcut. So if we point to B, the B heading here, with a black downward pointed arrow, and use the left mouse button to click and drag all the way to N, if I use that same double-headed arrow any place between B and N at this point, and double-click, it's going to automatically adjust every one of my columns to their best fit option with one single click, or double-click at this point. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So that takes care of that direction of automatically resizing my columns to the proper width. On EX32, it's asking me to click the name box, and it's asking me to navigate. Right now it thinks I'm in cell B3. It's going to ask me to navigate to A3. So if I just type A3 and hit enter, my selected cell becomes income. Okay, we're going to flip on over to EX34, where we're going to add a pie chart. So on EX34, we'll see the figure 1-55, which is my completed pie chart. On EX35, we'll select the range of information we want to appear in that pie chart. So with the white plus sign, we're going to click on the word rent, and then we're going to click and drag down until we get to miscellaneous. It's important not to accidentally select the word total here or my actual, word totals here. All right. If you did that, then we'll skew our information here. All right. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to hold the control key down, and we're going to select the totals row, or totals, all the totals in the column there. Again, don't select the word total, and don't select the totals down here. If you accidentally did that, it's going to really mess up your pie chart. So your selection should look like figure 1-56 on page EX35. So after we've selected both ranges here, we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to find on the Insert tab, we're going to find the option for Charts. If we click the drop-down arrow for the pie chart, looks like a pie, we'll find the option for a 3D pie chart. If I select that, my chart's going to appear on the page, and it's going to look very similar to what mine looks like right now. If we flip to EX36, we'll see that our chart looks pretty much exactly like figure 1-57. Let's go ahead and start formatting it. So let's click where it says Chart Title. Where it says Chart Title, if I click and drag, I can select my chart title and replace that with the word Monthly Expenses. Monthly Expenses. After we've clicked Monthly Expenses, I can go ahead and click off of it, and we'll see that I have Monthly Expenses has been committed. Alright, but let's mess with our chart a little bit here and make it format a little nicer. So let's select the chart. We'll know the chart's selected because we have the 8 dots that surround it, and all of a sudden we have a new tool called Chart Tools. On the Chart Tools button, we'll see that we have some chart styles here. We also have a corresponding button next to our chart that has a Chart Styles button. If we click that, we'll see a whole bunch of pre-selected and recommended charts are here for us. As we hover over them, it'll give us the chart numbers. So Chart Style 2, Chart Style 3, Chart Style 5. The one we're looking for is Chart Style 5. If we click it, it's going to format our chart as Chart Style 5. Okay, so now we've done that. We're going to flip over to EX38. I'm going to close my chart styles by selecting the Chart Styles button again. And that hides that for me. Okay, so on EX38, we're going to make sure that our chart is still selected and we're on the Chart Tools Design tab. We'll find an option here that's going to say Move Chart. So if I click the Move Chart, I'm going to have some options here. Move to a new location inside of sheet 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever corresponds to sheet 1. If I had a second one, sheet 2, 3, 4. Or I can move it to a brand new sheet. So if I select the option for brand new sheet, my new sheet's going to have a name, and my name is going to be Monthly Expense Chart. So I'll type Monthly Expense Chart. Okay. Now again, pay attention to where it says Sheet 1 right now, down the lower left-hand corner. If I click OK with New Sheet selected and Monthly Expense Chart here, I'll click OK. It's going to move this chart to a brand new sheet and make it full screen, taking up the entire sheet, and that new sheet is called Monthly Expense Chart. So that took care of that. Now we still have Sheet 1 here, and Sheet 1 isn't really a great name for Sheet 1. So let's click on Sheet 1, and we'll see that Sheet 1 has all of our data on it. Let's take care of that now. So if we right-click on Sheet 1, or even double-click on Sheet 1, or like I said, you can right-click on it as well. Right-click, we have the option for Rename. And again, double-click does the same thing. It selects it. We're going to rename this sheet to call it Monthly Finances. Monthly Finances. After we do that, we're going to need to press the Enter key to commit that change. We'll notice that our text goes from a black text back to green. We'll right-click, and we'll change the tab color. The tab color that we're after is a theme color, and it's going to be just a simple blue color. Okay, just a simple, this one's, pardon me, I believe this one's going to be blue here, so just a simple blue down here, blue. That changes that to blue. Okay. I'm going to save my document. Okay. And that's the direction after we change our color. It's direction 3 on EX39. If we flip on over to EX40, we've got some document properties that we can look at, and they're the same kind of document properties we'd see in Word or PowerPoint. File, Properties, tells us some information here. Okay. We can at least start the print process, but not actually complete the printing because we don't need to print it. We can print File. We could say Print. We'd select our proper printer. We could change our worksheet from orientation of portrait to landscape. That'll make it fit almost on one page. We could adjust our scaling down the bottom here to say fit sheet on one page. And now that'll resize our columns so that they all fit on one page, so that we're not wasting paper there. Again, I don't need to print it, so don't actually do that. I'll click the back button here. On EX43, we're going to talk about the Auto Calculate feature here. So in Auto Calculate, we have the option to determine the minimum and maximum using some of the built-in options in Excel. So if I select the range on EX44, I select the range B19, M19, so that's the net B19, M19, not including the N. I'll see that it gives me in the lower bottom corner are an average, a count, and a sum. If I go ahead and I right-click the status bar down here, I can tell it that I want to see the maximum option. So I can click on Find Maximum. And now Maximum will appear down here, and it tells me my greatest item in here. I can also go ahead and, show other options here, a minimum if I wanted to, or turn maximum back off. I'll save my document again. We're going to flip on over to EX46. We'll do a spell check to make sure that our document is spelled correctly. Unlike PowerPoint and Word, Excel does not automatically spell check for you. Alright, so what you need to do is you need to go to the Review tab and do the spelling on here. And we'll see that I don't have any spelling errors currently. If you do, this is a great time to go ahead and fix that. I'll hit OK. That completes Chapter 1 of Excel. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our document is saved. We're going to go to the portal. We're going to find our assignments. We'll find that I have an Excel Chapter 1 module project. I'll upload my file, choose, find my file locally on my computer. In this case, it's going to be in my Documents folder, my classwork folder. There is exactly one Excel file, Linda Fox Budget. I'll choose Open. We'll let it insert. And then I'll choose the Insert button once it uploads. We'll see it's going to appear here. We'll choose Add File. And then, because I know I'm completed with it, I'll click the big giant blue button to turn in my project. And then you'll be able to move on to Apply Your Knowledge, which would begin on EX50.